Welcome into our live stream today. We're going to be jumping into a Layer 2 project that is, I think, critical to some of the things that will be happening around the ETH merge and really the future of Ethereum and all the projects that could create some very interesting aspects around how ETH will be a baseline for the future in terms of blockchain. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into TechPath. Today we're going to be jumping into Arbitrum and learn a little bit more about their most recent upgrade, also some of the fun facts around what Arbitrum is, and dive in deep. We'll get into all that good stuff today. Just as a reminder, I know many of you guys were waiting on the live stream from Gala. We had a last minute change. We will bring that live stream back with Sarah Buxton over from Gala, so don't worry. It has not been canceled. It's just a matter of trying to get some things lined out. But I do want to welcome to the show Stephen Goldfeder, who is the CEO of Offchain Labs. Great to have you on the show, Stephen.
Thanks for having me here. Great to be here.
Excellent. Let's get into a little bit about Arbitrum. I think for some of our audience, many people who are watching us right now are probably, they're big into Ethereum. They understand the ecosystem. They get what Layer 2s do for the most part. Now, for some of our newer audience who maybe is just now discovering blockchain over the past little bit, explain what Arbitrum is designed to do and what its role is in the Ethereum ecosystem.
Arbitrum is a layer 2 scaling platform, and that's a lot of words. So what that actually means is Ethereum is the layer 1 platform, and Ethereum is a really, really great blockchain network because it has two really amazing properties: its security and its decentralization. And those are probably the two most important properties that you want. But those properties lead users to want to use these platforms, and then it creates demand. And the one thing that Ethereum doesn't have natively is scalability. And actually, there's an old, what they call blockchain trilemma. I'm not sure if it originated from Vitalik, but he definitely was an early user of it, if he didn't originate with him. And it basically says that you can have two of the three: scalability, security, or decentralization. And the question, though, is, so how do you scale? How do you get that scalability? And Ethereum's solution to scalability is these layer 2 platforms. And Arbitrum today is the leading layer 2 platform for scaling Ethereum.
All right, so when you look at Layer 2s, obviously we've had and talked to the Polygon team. You can think of Optimism. There are other solutions out there, and we do see this as a necessary evolution, especially around ETH and what the merge is going to mean for the future of Ethereum, and especially with the amount of projects that are coming onto Ethereum, and in general, the adoption curve that eventually will cause scalability to become a big, big issue. When you look at that, and you kind of consider the whole ecosystem, especially of ERC20 and kind of just the evolution of where smart contracts are going, NFTs, all that good stuff. Adoption is a big part of this. Do you feel that we are on track right now to keep up with the curve of adoption that could be incoming to what's happening in the crypto space currently?
Absolutely. It's funny because scaling is really a kind of a cat and mouse game, because you scale and then more users come, then you sort of need to scale again, and you basically want to keep these two things in sync. You don't want to scale, you want your users to come, but you also don't want them to come too fast. And one of the nice things today with Nitro, our Nitro launch, is we massively increased the capacity of our network. So we took another one of those leaps, and our usage today is actually also the 1-year anniversary of the opening of Arbitrum One. So our network turns 1 year old today, and the usage has been steadily increasing over time with some really, really great protocols and teams launching on Arbitrum. And today we take a massive step forward in creating more of that capacity. But to your point, we're not done. We're going to have a lot more users coming, and we're going to need to scale further. And just like we scale today and we increase our capacity significantly, I'm sure we'll be back a year from now. In fact, these things don't come from nowhere. Interestingly enough, the Arbitrum Nitro repository that we launched today, if you look at the first commit there, September 8th, that's 8 days after we launched last year. So it's a full year ago that we started this initiative. And I can tell you, we already have the next initiatives going on already in-house. So absolutely, we have a lot more work to do till we scale to the next billion users, but we're well on our way. And I think we're technology right now is leading. And so we have capacity for a lot more usage, even until before scaling even further.
Interesting. Story here on the block talking about you guys' launch, of course, here on Arbitrum One to Nitro. Some of the things that were highlighted in this article I wanted to kind of bring up here Migration upgrade, reducing transaction costs through call data compression, increased Ethereum virtual machine, EVM. Everybody, for the most part, understands what an EVM is. Compatibility and further advancing the interoperability of Layer-1. And then Arbitrum Nova, a separate chain focused on gaming and social. That went live August 9th, and it's obviously built in the Nitro stack. Are these two completely separate projects, or do they interface and kind of coalesce together? What's the kind of the differences between the two?
So on a code level, they share almost all the same code with some differences, but the vast majority is shared, and it's based on the Arbitrum Nitro code base, which we launched today. They are two separate networks and really focused on two different types of users. So to put it out there, to make it a little clearer, there's technology. We have Arbitrum rollup technology, and that's the technology that Arbitrum One is built on, and it gets you full security of Ethereum. Then there's Arbitrum AnyTrust technology, which is very secure technology, but not quite a rollup, and that's Arbitrum Nova is an AnyTrust chain. So we have today two different technology stacks, and we have also two different chains, each one built on there, and they really serve a different purpose. Arbitrum One gives you the most secure layer 2 experience that you can get, and it's the home of DeFi protocols. We have the likes of Uniswap, SushiSwap, Curve, Aave, Maker, Yearn, there, and also the new wave of DeFi protocols that build onto some of those Ethereum Layer 1 DeFi protocols, and that's, for example, we have GMX is a platform as well, Billion, and many others on our platform, and it's really a mix of these protocols and what you can do on Arbitrum One. And there's lots and lots of really great things. But then Arbitrum Nova serves a very different purpose. It serves gaming and social interactions. And you might say, well, hey, why don't they all launch in the same chain? And the answer is because for a lot of gaming projects, it's just too expensive to launch. Even Arbitrum One, which is 97% cheaper than Ethereum on average, is still for some games and some social projects at the scale of Reddit. It's still too high of a cost to onboard literally hundreds of millions of users, as some of these projects intend to do. And that's what Arbitrum Nova serves. So it's, previously these users may have to make a choice. It's like, hey, I want to be on Ethereum, I want to have security, but it's just too expensive. So they'll go to other solutions and give up on their security. And we asked, can you have a high security environment for gaming and social as well? And that's the niche that Nova looks to fill.
So okay, so let's kind of break this down into, because I know a lot of our audience will wonder, well, hey, how do you invest in it? How do you support it? And also, how does it make money? When you look at Arbitrum, the overall strategy, what are the revenue centers? What is the structure economically for you guys in terms of just going to market? What are some of the key benefits you guys are trying to obtain?
Absolutely, and there are transaction fees in the protocol, which have to be there. In fact, the vast majority of our fees today on Arbitrum One are pass-through fees, because what happens is we post all transaction data on Ethereum, and we pay for that. And actually, one of the benefits of Nitro, which you mentioned when you put up the block article, is better compression, which means we put less data on Ethereum, and therefore the fees go down. But there also are layer 2 fees. And there have to be fees, because if it's free, then there's no way to meter this resource. So the fees are much, much lower than Ethereum, and there are fees though, which in volume are a very healthy revenue source for the protocol. Now, it is the case that we do have plans over time to innovate here and include others. In Arbitrum Nova, for example, we have a committee of DAC, of Data Availability Committee, and validators, who are also partaking in the chain revenue. So this isn't revenue that goes only to off-chain labs. It's revenue that is really there to run the ecosystem. And over time, how that works will likely change. But that, as the protocol has a healthy revenue stream so that it can continue to survive and operate and pay for those costs.
So currently, transaction fees, core area of revenue. Any plans for any kind of token launches or NFT projects or anything that would be supplementing those revenue streams?
So we don't really operate on the application layer. In terms of your second thing you asked, like NFT projects, we try to give developers the best tools to use and let them do the innovation. I always say my job is easy, because people ask me for two things. They say, hey, can we have lower fees? No one ever comes to me and says, hey, Steven, the fees are just too low, can you make them a little bit higher, right? And say, hey, we want faster transactions, and we've done a really good job at solving those. But if you would have asked me a year or two ago, hey, would NFTs be the big thing today, or would DeFi be the big thing, or gaming, I would not have guessed that. And the same way I won't guess what's there tomorrow. But the nice thing is, as a platform, the tools we have to give are the same, right? Lower fees, better user experience. And so we're going to stay on the infrastructure level, and I think we'll see a lot of innovation, but we don't plan to monetize via, say, launching NFTs of our own. We do have a really cool NFT initiative that we're not monetizing called the Arbitrum Odyssey, where users can explore the ecosystem via our partner projects, do some tasks, and get really cool NFTs by an artist called Ratwell. We started that, then we paused that, and we announced that we'll continue after Nitro, and we'll announce a resumption date of that shortly. And in terms of a token, there are no, we haven't announced anything on that. I have nothing particular to share on that today. But the only thing I will say is our team is technically focused, and until we believe that we're creating software that's not for a day or two or three or a month or two, but for generations and for decades and decades. And the core focus is putting out the right technology. So before we even think about those questions, is the technology mature? And I think with Arbitrum Nitro today, we've taken a massive step towards technical maturity.
A couple of questions I want to get at, because I know obviously with most of our audience, a lot of ETH investors and NFT collectors, et cetera. So they get a chance to experience those gas fees up close and personal. When you look at kind of the future of what's happening with Ethereum and the merge, once that upgrade occurs, do you feel that this transition process that we'll actually start to see because of the layer twos, the work you guys are doing and others, will really see a significant reduction in gas fees? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I do think we'll see a significant reduction in gas fees. The merge itself, despite some theories out there or misinformation, I'll say, the merge itself will not cause a reduction in gas fees directly.
Correct.
But the merge is a big step in Ethereum's protocol development, and there are some steps that are going to follow on the heels of the merge that will cause significant reductions. Interestingly, though, a lot of these initiatives, such as data sharding or preliminary forms of sharding that will make putting data on Ethereum cheaper, and a lot of them are actually targeted at making rollups cheaper. And that's where you see the alignment between Ethereum and its rollups. Right? We're not competitive to Ethereum. If you ask anyone at the Ethereum Foundation, if you ask Vitalik, their idea is the way you scale is via layer twos as well. And of course, Arbitrum is the leading layer two today. So on that end, absolutely, we're going to see reduced fees. Sharding will reduce our fees. And it's the combination of us getting better at what we do. So us reducing our fees, like by shipping new technology, just like we did today. Ethereum making it cheaper to use their network, particularly optimized for roll-up transactions that will ultimately get us to, I think, a place of really, really low and sustainable fees that serve a great deal of users and great deal of applications.
Can you go into, you look at projects, obviously, that are adopting this technology and kind of the use case scenario of what this rolls out into the blockchain system overall. Can you go into any projects that, maybe some of our audience would recognize that are utilizing the technology?
Utilizing Arbitrum?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. So probably, yeah, just about any DeFi project that users are familiar with is probably an Arbitrum. So that includes the likes of Uniswap, SushiSwap, Curve, Aave, Maker. You have your assets there like USDC and DAI and USDT, and really most of the familiar tooling. If you're like an infrastructure person that are familiar with Chainlink or Infura or Etherscan or Alchemy, QuickNode, basically all these tools and projects that you're familiar with on Ethereum are on Arbitrum as well. The cool thing, though, is Arbitrum not only allows you to do the same, it allows you to do things that you couldn't do in Ethereum. I'll give you two examples. You can use Uniswap in a different way now, because in Ethereum Layer 1, particularly in times where the fees are high, it doesn't make sense for a retail investor or a retail trader, I should say, to use Ethereum, because maybe they're going to trade $10, but the fee is $20. It doesn't actually work. But on Arbitrum, you can do the same things, but the price point changes, and therefore we're more inclusive to other users and more types of users in different geographies or different social economic positions, that they can actually participate in the same systems as well. But also you have new types of transactions. So one of the biggest biggest applications of Arbitrum, there are several really great derivatives and options trading platform, and GMX is there, Tracer, Mycelium is another one, MCDEX, and lots of others. Dopex is another great example, and these are projects that do things that are probably too expensive to do on layer one. Some of these transactions for derivative protocols are quite expensive. Future swap is another one. And so this is an example of Arbitrum technology creating the ability to do fundamentally new things. It's not just doing the same things at a different price point, which is itself very important because it's more inclusive, but it's also doing fundamentally new things. We also have some really strong NFT projects, notably Treasure DAO and their Small Brains collections and Legions collections, which are quite popular. And in terms of consumer brands, users may be familiar. Earlier this month, we announced that Reddit launched their community points on Arbitrum. And community points is a system where by participating in Reddit communities, you gain points. And these points are not in a central database in which Reddit controls, but they actually give you these points on the Arbitrum Nova blockchain. And that's really, really powerful for two reasons. Number one, it allows users to actually own those points. They're self-sovereign. So Reddit can't go and say, hey, we're shutting down your account. Oh, they can do that, but you'll still retain the points. So because it's launched on Arbitrum, which is a fully open EVM, others can build experiences on top. I can build a game and say, hey, you can play this game, and the currency of my game is Reddit community points. That's a really, really powerful concept and tools to build an ecosystem around Reddit community points that's much larger than just Reddit itself.
I'm kind of curious, have you ever talked to Alexis about how this and the community of Reddit could really kind of benefit from this? This seems like, especially with his investments in blockchain, has really exploded of recent. Thoughts on how innovation is being used? Because you've got tell me a little bit about on Google Cloud, for instance, really how is that involved? And I mean, you're already doing some things here, obviously within the communities of Reddit, et cetera, but how has Google Cloud played into this whole ecosystem here?
Great question. So Arbitrum Nova is this chain that Reddit has launched on, and the innovation of Arbitrum Nova, which is why its fees are ultra low, right? So Arbitrum Nova is a high security solution, not quite a rollup. It's built under any trust technology, but its fees are ultra low. Like ETH transfer are typically less than a penny, for example. And the way we accomplish this is by using something called a data availability committee, a committee of others, not just ourselves, who are participating in writing this chain. And this is a really, really strong committee that we have, and includes, like you said, Google Cloud, and includes Reddit, includes us, and includes several others like Consensus, QuickNode, P2P, as well in this group. And that they are participating in running the core data infrastructure for this chain. And as the technology suggests, it's called any trust technology, which means you don't have to trust all of them. You have to trust one or two of them. And as long as one or two of them do the right thing, you know that the chain will operate itself and the data will be available. And that's why having a diverse set of Web 2 giants like Google Cloud, along Web 3 giants like Consensus, really gives many, many users confidence in the security of this chain. And it's really a new paradigm in having an ultra low fee chain, but one where you don't have to compromise that security. Because a lot of developers, they don't want to make this compromise, but they say hey, I love security, but if my game doesn't work with 30-cent transactions, what do I want to do? So previously they'd have to go to an inferior solution in terms of security and compromise on security. We said, hey, we're not trying to compete with the users that would anyway go to a rollup. We're trying to capture those users that say, hey, I can't do this. I might want security, but I can't have a game. The first thing that a game needs to be is fun. And most users won't find it fun if their wallets are being drained. So having a solution that can serve that is really, really important.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of layer 2 solutions, especially some that I wouldn't say competitive, but are alternative. If you look at other projects out there, obviously Polygon, Optimism, et cetera. I know you guys just actually just surpassed Optimism in terms of transactions this year. So how does that compare to other layer 2 other layer 2 projects that would have some similarities in terms of use case?
Yeah, so I think, like layer one blockchains as well, there's a large space here for innovation and a large space to sort of experiment and try out different things. And each project has this different flavor. You have side chains, like some of the projects you mentioned that aren't truly layer twos. They're not truly getting the security of Ethereum. And then you have different approaches, even a layer two. When it comes to layer twos, though, in terms of actually a product that works today and that's fully built out today, we're still in beta mode. We still have some training wheels on, but we are fully code complete and built out. And in terms of that, we are definitely far and ahead, and we have a working solution that serves users today. And I would say, a lot of other great projects there, but Arbitrum is definitely the leading layer two platform today by most metrics: user adoption, transactions, TVL or value locked, and also critical here is also our ability to innovate. Today we launched Nitro, which replaced a lot of our components with a new stack and a much better stack than previously. And one of the things that we retired today was the AVM, or Arbitrum Virtual Machine. I spent years of my life working on the AVM. It dated back to my time at Princeton, and we published this paper, so did Ed and Harry. But that's okay. It was the great thing for its time. But today we have a tool that's even better than that. I think that flexibility is really, really important. And that's the thing which I think is unique about us. We don't come into this fight saying, hey, I need to use this particular tool. I need to use zero knowledge proofs to scale. We say we need to use the best technology available to solve this hard problem. Focus on the problem, not the tool to the solution. And we're confident today Arbitrum Nitro is the best technology. And we will continue to innovate as other projects explore, and we continue to explore. We will definitely find better improvements that we can do to our protocol, and you can be sure that we will include those over time.
Yeah, I think we're all seeing kind of the early stages of really kind of a new evolution, obviously within technology development and how transactions will be enacted on Web3, much like what was the early days of the web and kind of the growth and all the early tech that we really saw to help create what we know today, is the existing internet. So I think it's a very unique time, very fun time also, because it also circulates around a very interesting market, that being the cryptocurrency market, and obviously its breadth of ability to invest in and all that good stuff. So a little different than what we've seen in the past, because it brings in all these massive communities, including communities around obviously Ethereum and other layer ones out there that are very passionate. But it's going to be fun to watch this definitely develop. Hey, a couple of questions before we let you go here. One, do you think the ETH merge is going to go off without a hitch? What are your thoughts here? It's just a couple of weeks away. You think we're smooth sailing now? What are your thoughts?
I think we're smooth sailing. We have incredibly strong development teams that have been working on the merge for years. One of the criticisms that ETH gets is that they're, they sort of get it from both sides. You have sort of people coming from the Bitcoin side say they innovate too quickly. You have people coming from the alternative layer one side saying ETH moves too slowly. But I actually think it's a really, really moves at the right pace, where ETH is willing to innovate, but does so responsibly and in a measured way. And I think you have incredible developers and researchers that have been working on literally years towards the merge. It's been well tested on test nets and private networks before that, but now already on public test nets. And I think that I have full confidence that the merge will go off without a hitch and will be really, really beneficial to the ecosystem as a whole.
Last question to you, Stephen, is around the gas side, because obviously during the last bull run we saw just extremely high gas fees. Obviously we did not see the layer 2 solutions really coming into play. ZKs and EVMs were really just on the forefront of really being able to be utilized in a lot of these projects. On the next bull run, do you think that side of it disappears because by then we'll have a much more mature system? Or do you think we could see gas fees slowly trickle back up and still be an issue long term?
So I think it'll probably be a little bit of both. I think we're definitely much better positioned than we were previously. Layer 2s are a part of that story, are the central part of that story, I should say. Yeah, and it will help us scale definitely past the capacity we had before. It's funny because people are asking like, oh, the transaction fees on Ethereum are low. Why are you building? Because the answer is they're going to come back. The demand's going to come back. And then if we don't build now, you're going to say, hey, where were you? What have you been doing? We need your solution now. So we're continuing to build and make our technology even better to get there over time. But also, like we said, when we started off, it's a cat and mouse game, right? I do think also probably with the next bull run will come even more demand than we saw today. One example I like to give is in 2017, we saw CryptoKitties. We saw, oh my God, these prices are terrible. This demand is. If you look at it compared to the demand we saw today, and this is, it's really, really non-significant or insignificant. And I think similarly, demand will continue to increase. So our goal now is not to sit and pat ourselves on the back and say, okay, we launched Arbitrum Nitro, it serves the needs of today and the next year or two. We need to say, how can we go even further to make sure that, again, the technology stays ahead of the curve? Because I think when the demand comes back, it's not just coming back to what it was. We're fine there.
Yeah.
It's going to come back a lot stronger. I think we need to continue to innovate to get there.
Yeah, I think scale is definitely the key thing, and this is what everybody talks about, is in the bear markets that we do see projects, good quality projects, really kind of go heads down, start the process of really road mapping out and getting in a position for the next cycle, and also the adoption curve that we're seeing right now with blockchain, and really kind of the transition I think we'll see across a lot of different industries as well as monetary systems worldwide for sure. Listen, hey, it's been great having you on, Stephen. We always love diving deep into some of these things, and I think obviously some of the layer 2 solutions, big topic here on our show, because obviously we have a lot of ETH lovers, but also really just the ecosystem around Ethereum and what smart contracts will be, NFTs. We cover a lot of that stuff. So thanks for stopping in. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
You bet. All right. So you guys sticking around for some questions. We will check those out for you. I know we have a poll coming up, so let's take a look at the poll right here. Is Ethereum merge already priced in? This was kind of going back and forth here too. So everybody's been waiting for a long time, and a lot of people now are dropping back down to 50-50 on this. So, and I'm still, and I've talked about this before, is that I think that I'm a little bit more conservative on where I think Ethereum is going to go, because my position is the macro pressures are real in the market. Most likely we're going to see a lot more of that. Now, do we get a little pump? Most likely. We'll see a little bit of action. The question will be is the strategy on how you're going to play this. And I'd love to get you guys' input on this, because as you know, mine was, I had some profit taking that has been going on for ETH over this last few weeks, looking at it running to 2,000. And an opportunity to really kind of grab into some of those, and also an opportunity to grab some ETH as it dropped back down. So there is some plays that I'm working with. My concern is this, and we talk about this in the crypto pick a lot today, is if you're in a position to either make a trade or try to do something, obviously many of the exchanges are going to be shutting down trading. We're going to see a lot of exchanges that halt everything around ETH as a whole, especially even to some extent, some ERC20 projects. So my question is, what are you going to do? Are you going to park this on your cold storage or your wallet, and then maybe do something on like a Uniswap? Or what's the process for you if you're going to play this out? Or do you kind of batten down the hatches and try to weather the storm if you don't sell leading up to it? I'd love to get your feedback on that. And we'll take a couple of questions here coming in for Hollow House. Do you think Vasil will be out before the ETH merge or after? Just hope to go off good. Been a minute. I don't know. I think, obviously Charles has been talking about Vasil. He seems to say right now the course is clear and the likelihood is it's going to happen. If I was Cardano and trying to lead that project, I would definitely try to grab some of ETH's thunder as quickly as I could, or as closely as I could to that launch, because there'll be some interesting things for sure. Corey, Doge Chain is probably the best buy, as ridiculous as it sounds right now. Listen, hey, we put Doge on the CPI, which is our power index, and we don't add them because of their popularity to us. It's the popularity to the communities, and also their overall market caps. We try to stay as much closely as we can to the top performing market cap projects. Doge, of course, is one of those. Shiba's going to be on there. We just added Uniswap on there as well. Nick, you're saying Uniswap is the route you're going to take, so that's good. I like that. I think that's a good safe one. If you're coming over from a ledger, it's easy, for you guys to do some things over there. And it's easy enough for you to be making transactions in times in which we may not have access to the tool sets to do those transactions, for sure. Iman, so won't cause a reduction, then what's the point? I think what Stephen was talking about is that it is going to cause a reduction in fees over time. But this was kind of the thing there at the end of the interview that we talked a little bit about. I feel like the Ethereum scenario is more around sustainability and kind of the push toward green mining, because obviously that's the shift over from proof of work. That I think is the bigger tool set, because getting approval on the global stage, especially with some of the political agendas that are out there, ETH has to be able to, check that box. And I think that is going to be one advantage over some of the proof of work projects that are out there right now that ETH will have to do, which means, yes, gas fees will probably start to inch back up. Will we see those big numbers? He kind of felt like it was going to be a little bit of both. I think it's still going to be based on demand and the amount of EVM and layer 2 solutions that come to the mat. I think will really make a difference. So it's one of the reasons that I like Polygon. It's one of the reasons that I like Optimism. It's also one of the reasons that, obviously, if you're following the Rails side of it, which is Arbitrum, following the projects that utilize it is very key in going that direction. Okay, so all right, this is interesting. Couple of things. I don't want to get into the ADA fighting here we have in the comments. It's going crazy. Why are EVM chains compatible if they are legitimate separate chains? What does it mean for a chain to be EVM compatible if they are ETH competitors? EVM, Ethereum virtual machine. So again, this is more of a technology handoff so that the transactions themselves can be operated. Like Arbitrum, what they do, their essential backbone, is they group transactions and then submit them like batches. And we've talked about this before. Batch transactions on ZKs or EVMs are a real solution. It's already been done in the financial industry. I think over time, when we look at curves of, remember, because all of this has to happen during this massive upswing of adoption that we're going to see. Don't think about just adoption in NFTs and all that kind of aspect that you guys recognize today. Look for adoption coming in a whole new tokenization world of all sorts of assets. That will come in real estate, medical, you name it. That's a transaction, and those transactions are going to need that capability, which is why these types of projects are so important right now. Jeff, I need ETH to be successful in the long run. I'm a huge believer in Matic. Yeah, I think so. I think ETH does win until it doesn't, because as you know, my theory is that most likely the purest blockchain technology that we will need and will have in the future hasn't been created yet. It's still in the mind of a 10-year-old right now, or maybe a 6-year-old. The evolution of where blockchain is going, I think what we see today is just like any other tech. It's the early days of everything. And what we will look at 15 years from today, looking back on this video, as you guys watch this 15 years from now on YouTube, you're probably going, gosh, what crazy people. They were just using such barbaric tool sets instead of this, which is the new tool set of what blockchain will be, or a derivative of what blockchain will be. All of this is built of, just like the internet. The evolution is just, I think, dynamic, and with technology adoption, it definitely is going to happen. ETH price prediction in the next couple of years, yeah, it easily could triple, over time, because of the adoption curves that we're dealing with. Just like Bitcoin, Bitcoin's going to see just an absolute run up here. It is the purest opportunity, I think, of our era in terms of investment opportunities, crypto in general. ETH, Bitcoin, a lot of these projects that are really high quality blue chip projects. You guys know us. I mean, those are some of the projects we really dive into. And even on the gaming and on the NFT side, there's going to be some really big winners there. So don't look at the metaverse and kind of dismiss it right now. Sure, it gets a lot of flack, and a lot of people are still questioning whether or not that can be a thing. I think we're really in for the early days of where this is going with metaverse, NFTs, all that good stuff. Right now, it's just that the blue chips are more focused in on the things that you and I can recognize, which is the monetary system more so than anything. Quick one right here, just what happened to the Gala music video. It was pretty simple. Sarah had a last minute thing that changed our schedule, so we couldn't swing that one out. We will get her on. She has confirmed she's going to be on the network, so we will get her back. So don't worry, we're going to have an update on Gala Music. Lots of stuff happening over there on that for Metaverse Insider, so don't miss it. We'll let you guys know. Sorry about that, but sometimes guests do have stuff that happen. Even when we schedule out these lives, it's hard to kind of sync all these together. But anyway, if you guys are listening in on the podcast right now, just tune in over here to the YouTube channel. This is the place to catch everything. And of course, it's easy for you to jump in here, jump into the Diamond Circle. And number one is to subscribe and also like a few videos, because this will help you, one, get us into your feed. If you're wanting to learn about blockchain technology, and think about it, if you could have had a channel that was teaching you about the future of the internet, because your business is most likely going to run on this Web3 component, or your all of your companies that you work for eventually will roll out into Web3. Who are you? I mean, you're going to be one then in your own organization, in your own community, in your own friend circles that are going to know about what's happening from a technology standpoint. It's important. This is what really makes it. And if you're here for the investment, then you're already ahead of everybody, because this is where I think it's going in terms of investment. So stick around here on the channel. Make sure if you want to reach me, it is out there on Twitter @PaulBaron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.